Hello chess friends and welcome to Azarov's chess channel and welcome to the Garry Kasparov saga. So in this series we're following Garry Kasparov's life and his chess career from the year 1981 to 2000, and we have now reached really the critical moment of the 1982 Interzonal Tournament in which Garry Kasparov faced another shark, Mikhail Tal. So it's really the clash of titans, beast from Baku against the smoking man, magician from Riga, Mikhail Tal. So great tacticians both of them, and this game from the 1982 Interzonal Tournament will show the strength really of Mikhail Tal, because he was still a respected grandmaster. Maybe he was weaker than in the 60s, but still he was so respected. Everyone feared still to play against Mikhail Tal. I think this game will show also all of the weaknesses of Garry Kasparov. I'm not revealing the result, of course, but still, even if you are the best kid on the world, even if you are maybe the best grandmaster in the world, still there is always room for improvement, and this game will show every weakness. And in this game Mikhail Tal played really an outstanding game in the semi-Slav defense, which is basically a static opening, but in this anti-Miran system that Garry Kasparov will choose, the game will of course be a tactical storm sort of. So let's check out now the game. We have of course the round one, and we used to say fight. So d4 played by Garry Kasparov. We have knight to f6 by Mikhail Tal. So c4 by Garry. We have e6 and now knight to f3. This is the so-called counter Nimzo Indian setup. I've explained it many times. Most of the times you see the spinning idea. If you play too early with the move knight to c3, it's not a mistake that you make that you lose immediately, but this counter Nimzo Indian I use also most of the times when I face this Queen's Indian setup. So here d5 played by Mikhail Tal. Now the game transposed into a Queen's Gambit, a decline sort of, and we have now knight to c3. c6, which is now the semi-Slav defense, and in my preparations I most of the time play the move c takes d5, undermine the pressure in the center, creating a static position. But of course these two top grandmasters love dynamic positions, so that's why Garry Kasparov plays the most aggressive line, the anti-Miran system with bishop to g5. And here Misha plays h6, which is great, which is the best way I think to battle this, because Garry Kasparov makes, I think, an immediate inaccuracy, bishop to h4. It's not an inaccuracy that you lose again, it creates again new dynamics, new really brutal positions. But here there is, after the move bishop to g5 and h6, bishop to f6 is the most natural way here to proceed. But after the move bishop to h4, you risk now this move d takes c4. And this is the so-called anti-Moscow system, because there is this line. If you, for instance, play d takes c4 immediately, then white can play the move e4. And this line they will play 1 year after this game. That's why I'm showing also this line. After e4, here Mikhail Tal played the move b5. It's really, again, a dynamic game. You can play something like e5 here, then h6 comes, bishop to h4, g5, knight to g5, h6g, bishop takes g5, and now knight to d7. This was the setup from 1983. But here you see Mikhail Tal didn't play this d takes c4 idea with b5 immediately. He plays the move h6, which now after h4 creates a faster attack on the bishop with the move g5. So that's why here d6, d takes c4 played by Mikhail Tal, and now e4 anyway. So now g5. You see, we don't risk anymore the spinning idea. That's why this early h6 was very important by Mikhail Tal. We have bishop to g3 and now b5. Now he cements the position on the queen side. He has now connected his pawns. Still is a pawn up, which is good, of course, and this is basically a gambit line played by white. Okay, what white has, of course, is the pawn central control. So these pawns are very important in the center. If black pushes the pawn too early, then d5 or e5 are our pawn breakthrough motifs. Of course, we could create further expansion in the center, so it's still an equal game, of course, opportunities for both sides. But I'm pointing you this out because most of the time the Slav defense or the semi-Slav after an exchange in the center can be really a static positional opening. You see they're choosing really this most dynamic openings, both of them, of course, great attackers. So bishop to e2, and now Garry Kasparov is preparing to castling. We can now bishop to b7. Very important move also to connect the bishop with his pawns. This bishop is of course blocked out by its own pawn on c6. That can be improved with potential c5 moves, but this bishop to b7 is very important, as you can cover still your queenside with the move a6, because there are always these threats, maybe a4 in long terms. Again, I'm not showing you now the whole line, but if you could just imagine after a4, maybe something like a takes b5, there is always this tactical threat of the rook on the a file. So that's why bishop to b7 first, fixing the position. The positional idea of blacks here is to play bishop to b7, a6, and then finally crack the position, crack the center with the move c5. So e5 played by Garry Kasparov. He doesn't lose in the tempo immediately. He challenges black's knight to d5, and we have now h4. This was very, very risky. This move is basically bad here for white. A better idea is now finally to castle. If black takes now knight takes c3, we can take with b takes c3. And although black has now a 4 versus 2 situation, it's really hard for black to castle somewhere. If you castle on the king side, you see you have already expanded your king side with the pawn moves. Castling on the queen side is also not good. Again, a4 would break the position. We would simply split the pawns in front of black's king if black castles on the queen side. Still, we're continuing the game with a very powerful pawn-centric control, and also with our space advantage on 5th rank. So better idea maybe here to castle, and this would lead now maybe into a line with knight to d7, maybe now a4. We should break that side. We don't want to weaken our king side here, and after maybe a6, knight to e5. Knight to e4 is a good idea with outpost ideas on d6. So still it's not lost position here for black. After bishop takes d6, e takes d6, black can even castle here. Still it's playable. We could after castling play something like f5, maybe f4, expanding. So black has also counterattack possibilities on the queen side and king side. Black has of course gained the center. So h4 really, really risky here, choice by Garry Kasparov, and we have now immediate attack by Mikhail Tal. He doesn't wait for a second, of course. He sees these moves, queen to a5. Now Garry Kasparov plays rook to c1. Maybe h takes g5 now is slightly better, because then after knight takes c3, we have b takes c3, and after queen to c3, we can escape with our king to f1. But now black has to solve the problems on the h file. That's the most important thing. Still, the queen is a little bit endangered. We could try something like rook to c1, and still this a4 idea works. Although down some pawns, white has good activity here, and I think this could be a problematic opening line for black. But in the game, Garry Kasparov played a more passive move. You see, you have to play the most active moves against Mikhail Tal. So here he played simply g4, attacking further the knight. We have knight to d2, and now c5. The queen to a5 is very important because it covers now the pawn on b5. You don't have to make this preparation a6 b5 that we a6 c5, pardon me, that I've talked about in the beginning. So now the c5 pawn breakthrough is possible immediately. So knight to c3 is also a possibility here. Still similar position happens, but here Mikhail Tal tried again the most aggressive way with the move c5. Here knight to e4 was played by Garry Kasparov. We have c takes e4. You see now there are 3 connected pawns here on the queen side. It's not so easy to break them. Here in the game, castling was played by Garry Kasparov. You may ask yourself what happens if bishop to g4 happens. It's again not such a powerful idea. You should first secure your king, because now bishop to e7, normal ideas, knight to d6 maybe. Again, we'll simply take out this knight. You shouldn't allow this knight to stay on this very active square on d6. So here castling is even a possibility, but now with really some pawn breakthrough motifs, these 3 pawns are moving further with some ideas, maybe even to play f5, f4, blocking out the dark square bishop. It's very important in these types of positions to block out maybe the dark square bishop, because we have now several dark square problems. Okay, as I said, Garry Kasparov played castling, which is good, and now h5 played by Mikhail Tal, cementing his pawn on g4, and we have now this idea a4 to break the pawn chain. In the game here a6 was played by Mikhail Tal, which was a slight inaccuracy by him. And here before this move a4, there is also this interesting line bishop takes c4 is a great tactical idea, which is suggested by the engine. After b takes c4, knight takes c4, and now we could cement our knight here on d7. And the good thing is that we have another knight to cement, so black cannot castle anymore. After that, we'll simply take the pawn on d4. We will have some good attacking possibilities, and maybe getting this other rook into the game, or even f3. If black escapes, for instance, the king side, we could break the position with the move f3. That would be a cool continuation to see. The evaluation here is +1 for white. So here Garry Kasparov missed, I think, a good tactic with bishop takes c4. In the game he played a4, a worst move sort of, and here Misha makes a mistake with a6. So again, d3 maybe here a better idea. Simply kicking away the bishop, trapping the bishop, and you would be forced to give up your light square bishop. But after a takes g5, again, a similar position happens when the queen gets into the game. Again, these pawns, you cannot move them further. If you play b4 to get your pawns connected, then again knight takes c4 would happen. So in the game after a6, here Garry Kasparov played, I don't think, I'm not sure why did he play this move. It's really a bad choice, b4. Even if you sacrifice the piece now with bishop takes c4, b takes c4, knight to c4, again, a similar position will happen. It's playable. But after b4, basically, black has a comfortable game. It's really incredible that Garry Kasparov played this move. Here, queen to d8, played by Mikhail Tal. We have now bishop to c4, but it's not the same position anymore. The queen is back into the game. We have b takes c4, knight takes c4, and now knight to c3. You see, Mikhail Tal will grab one of these knights. That's the most important thing. And again, you have only one knight to reload here on d6. You cannot play with both of your knights on that square, so it's a new position. It's not the same way in this previous position that I've explained you. So here after knight to c3, we have d takes c3, and the position gets more and more simplified as of course Garry Kasparov gets his outpost on d6, bishop to d6, and now after e takes d6, we have queen to f6. Here I think black has a completely winning endgame. Black is simply one piece up, and although white has here the annoying pawn on d6, still we can create a blockade with knight to d7. Even kingside castling is now a possibility. We should simply activate our pieces. And here queen to d3, played by Garry Kasparov, castling by Mikhail Tal, rook takes c3, and here after bishop to d5, that's the thing that surprised me the most, and I was a little bit sad when I saw that. This position, it's really unbelievable. Both of these players agreed to a draw. So I'm not sure what happened. If it's really a mystery to me. I think that black can hang on to this position with some knight to d6 ideas now, knight to d7, wherever you like, rook to d8. If you get in so many troubles, I think you can even give up maybe a rook for a bishop and a pawn, maybe get the queen somewhere here and try, I don't know, to take simply the pawn on d6 with rook. If you have really troubles, then to continue maybe the game with two minor pieces against the rook. So I'm not sure what happened in this position. Both players agreed to a draw, although I think Mikhail Tal had a completely winning endgame. So, okay, this was it. As I said, I'm a little bit sad that this game ended like this. I would love to see the continuation in this particular position played by both sides. But okay, this was a draw. They agreed to a draw. It's on them, of course. And as I said, Mikhail Tal finished third in this tournament with this win against a direct competitor, against Garry Kasparov. He could have maybe go for the win of this tournament. So I'm a little bit sad that he didn't do that, and that's why this game will still be sort of a mystery in my eyes. I hope you can agree with me, because simply too bad for chess. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I enjoyed it a lot till this particular moment, till this move bishop to d5 where they agreed to a draw. If you want to see more games from Garry Kasparov saga, here is the link. And if you want to see the best chess games of all time, check out my best chess games of all time series. And if you like this content, you can also subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best of